Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter here on a Venus day, and this is Jupiter hour, so should be benefic. And this is a quick video where I will try to talk about both the conjunction that we have right now with Neptune and Mercury, and a little bit about the April 8th eclipse. So I done a video about the upcoming eclipse in 25th March, and now I'm going to move a bit forward. I'm going to do this by heart. So right now the midheaven and ascendant are Mercury ruled, ascendant Virgo with midheaven in Gemini and the Mercury in Pisces, of course. So Mercury in the 7th house. And about the conjunction that is happening. So the theme for Neptune is surrender, but this is not necessarily in surrendering in a war or loss in that sense. It is more about letting go and allowing things to be. And so Neptune talks about what is missing, but also actually the manifestation of the longing. So with Mercury, this could be a certain type of communication, a certain type of poetic creativity, a certain type of message. Okay, if you were looking for a certain message, you might notice things in their absence, and you might have to surrender the fact that this is the way things are. I'm surrendering my hair. So my hair day is surrendered right now. Yes, Saturn is also in Pisces. Just showered, whatever. And you have to just allow things to be, to accept the feelings of like something missing, something lost, and out of this come a sudden wealth, so sudden creative burst, sudden creativity, sudden message, where it could be sudden creative urge, the words, the insights or communication can come about in ways that are unusual. But unusual Neptune, it means that you might communicate but on another dimension. You might have a certain closure but in energy, or having to surrender what actually happens. Okay, so you think about the right words, and then you let go, you surrender, you don't find the words, and then suddenly these words come to you. So Mercury is words. Mercury is ruling our hands and hand gestures. Mercury is also contracts. Okay, so you have to surrender certain types of communications also around contracts, or legal documents or business activities, but also business transactions. Okay, there can be a longing to participate in business transactions, or even a longing to participate in digital transactions, because Mercury is also technology. And sometimes like, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if I could participate in this technology without having to worry of being not included, or of all the things. Could I just enjoy technology and participate in it without having to worry that people cannot, in the sense that people are more included, are actually included, but also in the sense that that the self is included, and not to have to be afraid that you would be cancelled here, cancelled there, or not have bank account, or details being stolen and stolen and so forth. So there is the longing in regards to Mercury things. There is also closing of a cycle. And here the cycle, because we are also in the shade of like the new moon, and in the shade of an eclipse, of two eclipses, then the closure can be around nodal reversal. And because it is Neptune, Neptune is also towards its final phase in Pisces. So communication, messages, words, quotes, insights that came from even 2012. I found old paintings that I did that actually predicted what is happening in the world. It's kind of, I didn't think about it then. And so Mercury Pisces, you might have visions that come through painting, through creating art, and so on and so forth. Telepathy can be strong, you know, the veil is thinning and all of these effects. And so you sometimes even have to surrender things regarding to technology. For example, I tried to record a live and to look at the chart, but I couldn't. So now I'm doing a video and I'm, you know, again, you see my face, and I sort of like have to surrender it. Like, when can I look at the chart? When can I not look at the chart? This is also a part of this. And you, as you surrender, you can see how things balance out. So there's, you both see my face, and I managed to record a live actually earlier today, which was not directly like astrology, it was mundane astrology. And I had viewers, like 10 viewers on my live, and there were people watching for like nearly the entire video. Well, I was like, who's going to listen to me talking about all these things? But also there can be a certain longing where you want to be heard. You want to be understood, you want to deliver communication and actually have a reciprocity. Okay, Neptune is longing, so the issue of reciprocity in our business transactions, in our relations, um, is something that you, by the longing, you observe, and then you also can manifest. Okay, now we are manifesting our desires for the next Neptune cycle. So we're about closing a cycle and opening another one. Okay, and so this is where you can look at what has been gone right as well. What has gone right so far in regards to your Mercury issues? Okay, can look at mine. I have a credit card that's not related to bank, a credit card that is. I have purchased things with PayPal, all the many things that were associated with things. Now I just have to change or create a passport, and I can give thanks to people online. And so the thought about, oh, having the possibility that people will give thanks to me, being open to my region, or me living in a region where this is possible, is another thing, is another perhaps longing. Oh, I would love to have people just saying thank you, and you know, tipping me for these videos, with that being flowing and not having to work hard on it. So I would also like to do that to others, so that our creative endeavors are appreciated with ease. Okay, and I would love to sometimes maybe have a makeup artist, or not have to worry about being able to pay like a makeup artist, or somebody who does like the technology and the things. I can allocate more things now, and stay in my shine zone, or not have to worry about communicating with people. Okay, all of those issues in regarding to my path. And you might think, where is it with you? You also want to think, what is Gemini and Virgo for you? And this is where you can have a little bit of closure, say things that you need to say, especially now with Venus on Dana Balgari. Say things that you need to say, but also withdraw the attention, withdraw the words. Okay, so for example, if you're dedicating too much time to one venue or one way of expression, perhaps sometimes to have a good balance between withdrawing or listening and expression, okay? But also the freedom of expression, okay? Not to have to fear communication or participate in communication, and also to have this relief around being able to express oneself, okay? Neptune, Mercury, it is, you notice things in their absence, and this creates a longing, and this creates actually a desire that creates a manifestation of your very longings, okay? So those things that were missing, that didn't seem possible, are actually manifesting. And so this is a good time to pay attention to what naturally comes up. With Neptune, things will come up, okay? For example, Neptune also rules whistleblowers and the spies, and having conversations that are respectful and allowing people to do their job if they're whistleblowers, and to be met with the conditions, the safety, and have their words changing the reality in favor of humanity, and so on and so forth. So another note to free Assange, okay, and for that to be safe, regarding everything towards everyone, and free people who are kidnapped, or children who are kidnapped. This is a good time, yes, to do that. And yes, and more things like this is, if you notice something is missing, or something, some longing occurs, being with that grief and sitting with the desire. What is the desire underneath the grief? Okay, the desire underneath the grief, and for eventually the grief goes away, and you are more attuned to your desire, and you actually manifest the wealth. And this is in regard to Neptune things and to Mercury things. Suddenly you feel happiness. This can also be. Especially now with the moon on Deneb Algadi, so joyful feelings are allocated more with more equity, okay? So this is true. Moon is applying to Venus. Anything more? So let's try to talk a little bit about the April eclipse, April 8th. And I'm going to do this by heart as well. So I looked at the chart, and we are going to have the eclipse on 19 degrees of Aries. And if you have anything in 19 degrees of Aries, you will have Sun, Moon, and Chiron right on your planet. So let me know in the comments below if you have anything around 19 degrees Aries or Libra. And the April eclipse is inclusive of Chiron. So this is it's a new approach in the way we tend to our core wounds, and it forces us to take a look at things. So Chiron Aries, anything to do with autonomy, sovereignty, we'll have a new look on how to address issues regarding our identity, autonomy, sovereignty, and so on, and the I am, okay? But also, yes, it is the sign of war and to assert our individuality, but it's also fighting. Yes, it's a part of the significations. This is just a part of the reality of it. Mars at the time is already going to be in Pisces. So this is going to be very weird. And not only is it in Pisces, it's conjunct in Saturn in, I think, 13 degrees, 13, 14 degrees of the Pisces. So this is very weird. Why is it very weird? Because looking at it tropically, the conjoining of Mars, the colors are like a movie. This is so Mercury Neptune. The conjoining of Mars, the sign of concrete action, physical world, and so on. And in Pisces is, well, before I just look at the conjunction of Mars Saturn, Mars in Pisces is merging with what you desire, okay? So Mars in Pisces is can be incredibly compassionate, but also it can really harbor a desire for very, very, very long time. It has a lot of longevity, okay? You catch the attention of a Mars in Pisces person, well, it will have a Neptune duration, not just Jupiter duration, and Neptune duration. So this is where the desire is eternal. And so when we are talking about such eclipse, it means that the events by the eclipse are going to have a little bit of a touch at the eternity, okay? We are exposed to maybe how we have asserted our individuality across millennia, or at least centuries. We are thinking in centuries. Even with Mars, a personal planet, Pisces is also about the many dimensions, the many realities, and Pisces is about the I am. So you think about Pisces as, you know, right now it is in Aquarius, so it's kind of like the I am in the community. Okay, I stand out in the community. This is the story of Mars in Mars in Aquarius. Yes, but we're doing action. So there's a conflict, there's a discourse. But with Mars in Pisces, there is a sense of blending in, actually, in a way that is almost esoteric, even for people who are not particularly like openly esoteric. Mars Pisces means that you want to assert your individuality and you are turning to things that touch on eternity. So you're turning to certain type of philosophies that can have an element of salvation, or this is since antiquity, and you base your actions on this. And so you have to also beware of like the illusions and disillusions, but this is an eclipse, so a lot of it is fated, okay? And yes, in many ways, the 25th eclipse is priming, you know, the 10th of March lunation is priming to the eclipse lunation, that is priming to the April 8th eclipse. It's just the consequences of events. A sequence of events and consequences, yes, but this is more a sequence because it is you know, one by one we have this deep imprints on the energy fabric of our being and in the world. So now we talk about this Mars coming to conjoin Saturn. Anybody who has any orb of a Mars-Saturn conjunction or hard aspects, this is what some astrologers call the syringe. Why the syringe? Mars is action, Saturn is precise action, okay? This is where your analytical skills can skyrocket, okay? But because this is in Pisces, there is an element to, there's another thing that can happen. And one thing is, if you know the concept, the breaking of a dream. So Mars is something broken, Pisces is dream, and Saturn is reality check. And so there can, and here I want to, it's obvious that I will do this video. Let there be light. It's obvious that I would do this video on a Mercury-Neptune conjunction because this is explaining very well. When Mars and Saturn meet in Pisces, of course, the longing is exposed, and it can be by the breaking of a dream. So, for example, you want to think about something you fantasized about or you desired, and something breaks in this, whether it's oh, you really wanted to have attention from this person, is not happening, or just something you wanted to do is not happening. And in the breaking of the dream, there is a hidden desire that comes to the surface, because there can be an element that is surprising, that is fated in regards to this issue. Okay? Or I was dreaming to I don't know, visit this country. Okay, right now is not happening. Now you can have, within the breaking of the dream, oh, right now you cannot do this, comes a deeper desire. So to give concrete example, I want to give an artistic example, because this is more appropriate. You know, we are in Pisces. So let's say you really wanted to paint a beautiful picture. You come and you try to paint the picture. You paint the picture, it doesn't come as you desire. And you try, it doesn't come as you desire. Then you channel, comes something else very beautiful, but there's also feelings like, is this me? Is this not me? Or something with the channeling is feeling, you know, abrasive or weird, and so on and so forth. And so within the breaking of a dream, there is a desire. So you need to accept and surrender that this is the breaking of a dream. But I also want to give you an example from a field that I did when I was in high school, and this was filmmaking. I was doing screenwriting and then directing. And when you're doing screenwriting, then you're doing a breakdown of your script into pictures, and you paint these pictures, you illustrate these pictures, and then you go to the set. Or you even go to look for sets. Okay, now compatible. Let's say I wrote a scene for a classroom. So I have my producer. If I'm very lucky, I have a producer. It's high school, right? And this producer finds actors, and it finds a set, and it finds a classroom. Then can be the break-in of a dream. You can only be in this location between, I don't know, 1 to 1:30. Yes, now we have to move quickly. But you can imagine that when I was writing the screenplay, and when I was illustrating the photos, and when I was reaching this classroom, there are completely different things. First of all, I didn't remember at 17, I didn't remember what a classroom of, you know, 3rd grade, 4th grade looks like. Okay, so I have to adjust the set, have to be adaptable. And so sometimes you have a little bit of a letdown just when you are incarnating your dream. And here again is something fated. And so within that, you either have to do the adaptability, okay, like a movie set, or there is a desire born. And Mars, Saturn is this fated reality check to our drive, but also if it comes to war, to what we can achieve with war. Trying to assert our identity with war, okay? There's a reality check to that. Or a different course of action, okay? And then we can have a desire for course of action that is more authentic to us, that we can merge with our desire to be sovereign, to be free, to be autonomous, in a way that is both more realistic, but also more true to ourselves. Okay, this is a conjunction, it's a hard aspect. And so the vitality of Mars versus the sobriety of Saturn can collide in a way where, you know, you blend in. For some people, this can also be intercourse, by the way, okay? So it's like you're blending in there's a blending of these energies, and I have to surrender the way that not the way, yeah, but the way the things are happening, because this is Mars in Pisces, but also you have to kind of like surrender the previous notions that you had of these encounters, and maybe something new is being born from that, okay? Because this is a synodic cycle with Mars and Saturn around this eclipse. So you're closing a cycle and opening another one. Because this is Mars, so Mars, we said, sex, war, desire, and innovation, self-assertion, autonomy, but also action, type of action, okay? Creative endeavor. Saturn, incarnation of, so you also have incarnation of your desires. And so the Sun Moon Chiron gives us a sort of tending to the Chiron wound in a fated way. This was fated for you to have this event. On a mundane level, Chiron related eclipses are also related to another 50-year timestamp, unfortunately, usually of silenced veterans. Okay, 7th of October also happened within this Chiron cycle. It was exactly 50 years from 6th of October 1973, and it was in 6th of October 2023. But this is also the truth. So if you ask what was so special about that, well, the oil crisis. So actually, earlier today I was joking about something that happened to me with the person. There was like, he was saying something like awkward, not so nice to me. I was confronting him. I said, yes, I will come to the dinner and so on, but you must treat me respectful. And he was trying so hard to treat me respectfully that he was saying awkward things to his spouse. So the way I feel about this, I've been trying so much to be diplomatic on Facebook that I just say it in English. Okay, was für Hasbara. So if you know, you know. But yes, I've been trying to be diplomatic so much, then yes, this is happening. But this is Chiron, okay? Chiron can carry a timestamp of trying to silence. If you remember the atomic veterans, yes, it was also associated with a Chiron related activity. Probably it was eclipse. I don't remember the delineations, but the atomic veterans were silenced for 5 decades. And so this also put people in disillusionment around the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because it was like, oh, it ended the war. What can we do? They are so crazy people, torturing people. Yeah, let's kill them. But the actual implications were very horrid, because it's not just you are bombing like a concentrated like place. Not that it's, yes, we don't want to, yeah, but the fact is that there are people in the margins, and those people are severely suffering. And this is what we don't want when we talk about Death with Dignity or the art of war, and so on and so forth. We want to end conflict. There is an X, such as X is an armed conflict. It's something that's happening in the world. But we also don't want to silence the veterans, and the veterans that were dropping the bombs, they were feeling also this suffering, okay? The temperatures and so on and so forth. So I don't want to put like too many like triggers or war veteran triggers that we sometimes always forget. Like we talk about triggers around sexual stuff, but not like war veteran triggers. And they were not able to even speak to each other, so they could not heal. Yes, so I want us to also remember this, and remember, yes, that just being aware of it, saying, hey, we don't want to let into silencing the veterans. Just being aware of it, just knowing these things can be very, very useful. Yes, I give examples of like a bomb. No, I don't necessarily think like bombs are going to drop on America or something like that. I know people have been fearing this eclipse a couple of years now because it is very visible in certain skies. But again, I don't know how to delineate like an A-bomb. So yeah, if I think about the Pluto-Neptune, so Neptune still in Pisces, Pluto conjoining it, Venus, I think, is going to be sextiling Pluto, and she's going to be in Pisces tropically as well. She's Pisces sidereally, but also tropically. And Aries is going to be just degrees away from this eclipse, so it's still conjunction, it's co-presence, but current is going to be more felt. We also want to, remember the constellation in which the moon is, which is going to be on Andromeda, and you can turn to Krasiatasio for more details about it from the sidereal perspective. I really recommend to watch Krasi's video on the April eclipse. It's completely other perspective. It's just so interesting and fascinating. And there is the hope or the desire that, let's say, people who are kidnapped will be released, justice will be achieved, and so on and so forth, from a tropical point of view. Okay, so I'm just putting the tropical perspective. It's not negating. It's more like this is what I see, is what I'm able to see with my lenses, or from my point of view, that mundanely Andromeda is not only related with the release of and from events of like kidnapping and stuff like that, but unfortunately also the other way around. And this is where perhaps turning to Andromeda, not at the time of the eclipse, but definitely working with Andromeda. And again, the protocol, I'm going to give the protocols, might be also a separate video, but I'm going to give the protocol for what I went through in the 7th of October in favor of everybody in the world. So from astrological point of view, I'm going to give through the protocol. The protocol is like this. Because this is mundane, we are not necessarily going to have our charts with us, our phones with us, anything with us. Okay? I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be relevant for everybody. It is going to be relevant for some people, somewhere around these eclipses. And we're not going to have like everything around us. The protocol goes like this. The fixed stars, okay, that we are just calling, you can say the fixed star, you can say the quality, you can say whatever you want like to manifest around this are Andromeda constellation, okay, for reconciling those who were not included. Still we have Aries in Aries. Reconciling those who are not included, including those who are not included. Okay. Aries is still sextiling, then she's a planet, she's sextiling also Deneb Algedi. Deneb Algedi. Equity, wealth redistribution. Okay, so Andromeda constellation with the emphasis of being inclusive of Aries in a way that is guided by the protection of Deneb Algedi. Okay, just protector of those who are not included, so that Aries will not have to revert to tactics that are, abhorring to attempt to have a say or an impact for the sake of survival, but that it will be included. Okay, Procyon, the denucleaficator of the zodiac, Procyon. Okay, so Procyon. Again, if you don't know what time it is, you don't know what this is, Andromeda in Aries, Deneb Algedi, Procyon. Okay, and because this is calling to, okay, you're not making a talisman, you're not doing like a ritual, so it's not like that type of concern. Algol, okay, always Algol, always Algol, okay. So Andromeda, with including Aries, then Abalgidi, Procyon, denucleify, change the things within us that are corresponding with whatever the patterns are. Okay, so I talk about, you can find my Procyon protocol. Algol. Okay, and with Algol, we want the reverence, protecting, defending the voices, the autonomy of people, women, but not only women, from whatever, whether it's psychic attack or any such thing. So if we talk about like kidnaps or torture, talking about Andromeda, we talk about, when we also talk about Algol, talk about sexual boundary violation, Algol as well, but also Andromeda. We're talking about all these things are also relevant to Deneb Algedi, psychic protection, all of these things. And Procyon is also on the reconciliation, the sweetening of the verdict. Okay, so those of you who follow certain traditions or religions of the sweetening of the verdict, this is much in the light of Procyon. And if like, I don't know, religious concern around this, then remember what these represent. Is why I'm saying what these represent, so you don't have to turn to it in those names, but in what it represents to bring it this energy. Okay, this is my protocol that I did through the 7th of October. If you do have a phone, is another tip you can do with Christopher Warnock. He is looking when the ascendant or midheaven is crossing one of those bodies of skies that he's currently working with, and then he's making a petition or lighting a candle. Now, with Algol, this is already getting to like petition, no problem. It can be the possibility lighting a candle, no problem. Yes, but I also want you to begin to look if Algol is in minima or not. You just Google minima Algol, see when it is minima. So the more energy sensitive you are, then you will divine on it or whatever. The places, okay, where are these fixed stars? So Deneb Algedi is around 26 degrees of Aquarius, tropical. Algol 26 of Taurus, tropical. Andromeda constellation, again, as of like, if even before 20 degrees of Aries, okay, 19 degrees of Aries, absolutely. Begin to work on this. And Aries is around the 25 degrees of Aries. Okay, so if you want to reconcile, my recommendation when you work with Aries, because she was not included, I want to provide for her. And so it's not only that she will be unchained, but she will be provided for. And this is why I also call Deneb Algedi. And you can call Algol as well. So this is kind of like my protocol for when I'm working with Aries. And that is, first of all, is something good to focus on. Yes. And yes, of course, in real time, you might not have like the ability to do that. It's not about, if you have the internal resources and you remember, this is like the protocol from like an astrological point of view. That's relevant for, let's say you don't have a talisman, you don't have internet, you don't have anything. That is something that you can go to. So what more I recommend to you? What I did during the war as well, I grew garlic. I don't know what is good for you to grow, but this is very useful because you want to create growth. Okay, so I just did nothing. I just took garlic, stuck some, toothpicks in it, and then put it in water and allow it to grow. Then took a photo of it every day, and so on and so forth. So if you're in a place where it's possible, this is something that I highly recommend. And you keep a track of this like every day, and this is creating growth in the process where later you can also manifest things. Garlic is very good not only in protection but also in genuine growth, to any energy blocks, anything that you want to release, to grow from. This is very good to grow garlic. And many things are very good to grow. Okay, there's all kinds of things like in relation to that. And then, it's like for protection and so on and so forth. Get in contact with what you desire. Get in contact with what you desire. You see that with those conflicts and those life risking situations, there are also deep desires, okay, that you suddenly feel like you want to be doing. And whenever you get to do these desires, you do that. And you will find them to be sometimes so awfully silly. Okay, you just want another sip of that soda. I made like a cream, buttercream, and it's sort of like, oh, I just want to have like another time I do like my butter, like body butter or stuff like that. You can find that these desires are awfully like random, seemingly silly, but this is the small things that keep us alive. So yes, pets, of course, having a pet, if a pet adopts you, is incredibly helpful. And yeah, this is where where it's relevant. Of course, there's situations where, but this was the kind of like my protocol for where we thought that we were going to be the next village who is slaughtered, and you understand that was very difficult. Also, disobey. Don't go with any ride, organized and not organized. Okay, I cannot stress this any further. So not all people have like weapon to like defend their homes, but definitely not to go where they want to take you is important. Wherever you are in the world, okay, it's nothing to do with your flag, your religion, your this, your that. Those who do these things, they're not racist, they're not sexist, they are not with prejudice, they're not ultra orthodox, they're not atheistic, they're nothing in particular. They look at resources. And if you are in the way, they will create whatever story they need to create to get the resources, okay? Refugees are exposed to that a lot. And so, and you must also be thinking in those terms, because it is, it is so, yes, yeah, and you have to understand this, because this is where many stories are going to be trying to pull at your string of consciousness and like, look at me, look at me, look at this conflict, enter this conflict, enter this conversation. And it's not about judging yourself if you gone into some narratives, but it's more like, think. The people who are doing all these conflicts, they don't see no religion, no sex, no gender, no cultural thing, no nothing. They're not even believing in eugenics, because they are taking pills that are made from plasma, which is made from the very people that they tell you that are not purifying that are polluting your bloodline, that are sinners, that are abomination, that are this, that they're using their blood in the plasma very well to the blood. Yes. Okay. Then they call this is the medicine. So this is my protocol for the world events wherever this is relevant. And anything more I can say? Yeah, well, carry something to create with, whether it's writing, whether it's, and it's not to call for help or to leave a message or to this or to that. It's more like to express what's inside you. And I'm not even talking about to give words to things. No, write a freaking satire. Flying Bombardier was written under fire. Okay? Write a freaking satire. And also write your desire, what is desired. Whenever you get to what you desire. This is also my protocol for what I went through during COVID. And whenever I later got to the to write, I was writing not of the horrors that I have been through sometimes, yes, but also of what is my desire. What do I want to see? Okay, and by the way, before 7th of October, I was writing this. I didn't know what is going on. So I'm exhausted, but I'm giving you the protocol. And so in whichever place is needed right now or will be needed, this is the protocol. I'm not saying everybody's going to have like, the ability to do anything of this, but you might read this and you might, and it might come to you at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. Okay, so this knowledge will reach you, I'm sure, even in energy, even in channeling, if you need it, if it's needed, when it's needed, when it can help you. This, I'm sure of that. So yes, this is, again, it's very weird to say, this is not to stress anybody, but we're in the world war. And so this is relevant even before the eclipses. And springtime is always where people want to have Arab Spring, this spring, that spring. And their spring is always like religiously fundamentalistic and like completely like not representing those that they put the feast for. So this is really a weird world. And yes, but if you take a look at like a crisis perspective, she's showing off the Andromeda, she's showing off the participation of Venus, so justice being achieved, evil being reversed. So there are also good things happening. That being said, I want to tell you that when it was, let's say, 7th of October, it was shit fuck scary. It was shit fuck scary. And I knew, the first thing I remember saying was like, we are Maui. Okay, if you remember, the Maui is like, we are Maui. I knew we are Maui. I understand, we are Maui. It's not that there's an Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No, we are Maui. It's real estate. It's oil. That's what's up. Okay, it's 1973 was the oil crisis. Only in the end of writing Flying Bombardier did I write the oil crisis. And I'm like, oh my God, this is... And only when I wrote this did I realize this, but I realized this all along. But this is just the things that happen to you when you're going through these things. And so this is where I want to stress that. And this perhaps is, you hear this right now, is going from one ear to the other, and this is okay. I've heard a lot about disobey, and I didn't understand like what to do, so what are we supposed to do? And some, whenever this is accessible for you, then what you're able to implement at the given time, you implement it. It's not about being blaming yourself for what you didn't do, for what you did, for what you did. It's no point in that. It's like these are designed to put people in those situations of like trauma and self-blame and projection and narratives that they've heard, and they're supposed to stress them so much, so within a very short time they have to get rid of all of their ancestral goo and indoctrination goo, and like center themselves and so on. Yeah, that is my point. So also when justice is being achieved, yes, it takes time. So it is again something that can center you. And yes, for some of you, it's just an eclipse, okay? It's like it's just an eclipse. It's not something necessarily horrifying or scary or doom and gloom. It's not something you're necessarily going to feel. If I'm going to try and see people that this eclipse is falling on. And the first thing I noticed, the 19 degrees Aries is falling on a Jupiter, exactly of Jupiter, of someone who was elected for in the elections in Netherlands, but he didn't get to be prime minister because the centralist party was not participating, and this was the Freedom Party for Netherlands by Geert Wilders, Mr. Geert Wilders. So this eclipse is falling right on his Jupiter. I don't have his ascendant. I don't know what is Jupiter, other than what Jupiter signifies. But Jupiter is also worldview, religion, beliefs, and so it's very interesting to see, like, what the heck. And it will be pertaining to Europe and to United States. And if you look at the crisis point of view, it talks about Iran a lot. So I've been hearing about this. Actually, like, I've been hearing stuff to do with Iran by people that I highly, highly value and are very private people. So not intelligence or anything like that, just people that have intuition. This is where I'm like, oh, yes, they suddenly they talk about Iran. I'm like, yes, they're onto something, and sometimes like they don't even like get the everything of it. But yes, is possible. And what I don't know. And so again, we need to look at what is around this 19 degrees of Aries. And where does it fall for world leaders? This is a solar sign, okay, with Sun in Aries. She's exalted in Aries. Some people even say on the degree of the exaltation. So if we look at Christopher Warnock, he would use 18 degrees Aries, but some would use 19 degrees Aries, and to talk about this as the degree of the exaltation of the sun. So definitely a shift in power. World leaders are going to be very affected by solar stuff in solar signs, and definitely the degree of the exaltation. So this is if people have, let's say, sun on this degree, of course it's going to be incredibly personal to them. With Rahu, the eclipses with Rahu, this is bringing in the new. It doesn't mean that it doesn't take away like the old, but the focus is on the new. The focus is not on the old. Okay? The 25th eclipse, this is more in Libra. And about this, I would really recommend you to watch Lada's whole video. Okay, it's only $6. I don't get any dividends from that. I bought it myself and I really enjoyed it. And I find this very interesting. And very much preparing, because this eclipse, and I will not make a spoiler to you, but it's more about being true to ourselves and standing in the temptations related to that, while the April eclipse is about bringing in the new. So first we let go of places where we're not being true to ourselves, and it's very interesting that both have hands to do with them. Our skills, our expression, writing is also to do with the hands. Very interesting. And the April 8th is bringing in the new. Something new is going to come in regarding to that. This is why also I brought my protocol, because one of the all of the things were very important, but one of the things that came from this was Flying Bombardier, which was original satire that I wrote, a co-channeling and having intuitions, and I don't always know from whom or what. And this was really prominent. And yes, so you want to pay attention to this, because you're letting go of what's not true to you. To, if you're doing writing, if you're doing creative endeavors, means of expression is going to be the words that get at the core of your being, like that. So this is the bringing in the new. The beautiful hour of satire, I already said, but it's not just satire, it's also the creation, the desire, the dream, and so on and so forth. So all this happening with Mars conjuncting Saturn, of course, it's going to have long-term implications, but it can also be not necessarily the good things that are going to come from this are also going to be enduring. So both by the merit of Chiron, at least 50 years, and by the merit of Saturn. And so if you think about the atomic veterans, yes, the atomic veterans was silenced, the this, the that, but definitely that had an impact on the world, right? That lasted for pretty much a century. And so not that I'm saying, and this is also, not to disillude you. Yes, if we're talking about Iran and we're talking about United States, what is so special with Iran is nuclear energy, okay? As per Venus, she's conjunct in Neptune and sextile in Pluto. So, I don't know. Okay, so Venus, Neptune, sextile Pluto gives us tremendous power. And Venus is the poetic woman, but also I think Venus is going to be invisible at that time. So there's going to be a lot of wisdom. And, wisdom is not always, following good events. I'm saying this because I don't want you to be like too afraid, and I'm also giving you like the protocol of points of interference, but I'm also saying this not to put rose-colored glasses, because this is an eclipse. It is a major one. It is a Chiron timestamp one from a tropical point of view. It is involving Venus and involving the outer planets Pluto and Neptune, and still involving Aries. So anything nuke, Procyon. Anything nuke, Procyon. Watch anything. You can look for my videos and look for anything with Procyon and watch it again and watch it again and watch it again and watch it again. I'm still not making money from this video. It's not about me making money or watch time, because I cannot stress further the importance of this for the signification of our times. And a little bit about A-bombs. In Chernobyl there was a leak. It's a forest. There are many extinct species that came to life. Actually, they have more sexual polarity, so those who would not using sex like to reproduce are now do. And recently there was a person from Ukraine that escaped and to Chernobyl, and he said, well, radiation is better than war. So we really need to be concerned and alerted. There are other ways to grow forests, and what are forests is biodiversity. How is created? Sexual polarity. How do we preserve sexual polarity? Will and consent. It's really the only way. It's the only way people can still agree to have sex with each other. It's really, that's what's up, okay? And it is not negating like LGBTQ and all. This is a part of nature. There are gay geese, there are gay animals, there is like many things exist in nature. Everything is not natural is existing in nature. But when you talk about like what is a good rich forest, it is having biodiversity. So not eugenics, not Ubermensch, not purification of the race, not bloodline segregation, biodiversity, and is having, when you talk about people, is having willing consent. And by the way, with the observation of cats recently, cats also practice willing consent, depending don't like the culture or whatnot, but I did see that. They have the flirtation, they have the this, they have the that, they have, kind of like the game of where it's like, when they do both want this to happen, then it does. Like, it's something that I just saw around me. Okay? And this is something that exists in nature. And when we have a rich nature, then we have sexual polarity, more so. And then we have, to preserve it, we need willing consent. Okay? This is why people care about willing consent. This is why it matters to people. Okay? Okay, why, for example, saying, "Oh, you're an idiot," is not such an insult to people who are confident in their thinking. It's like, okay, it's not nice to speak like that. We don't want to hear that. We're not going to throw you in your life, in jail or kill you because you said you're an idiot. Okay, so like, speak more respectfully to me, or don't speak to me. But when it comes to sexual boundary violation, so it's not because of sexual shame. Okay. It's because it's really important to have willing consent to preserve the sexual polarity and the sexual energy, the desire to have sex with each other and to procreate. It's important to have this, to have biodiverse environment that is growing life. Because otherwise, like this Ukrainian farmer said, radiation is better than war. Yes, radiation is not good for us. We're not like adaptable to radiation. Okay, it's like, yeah, we can adapt to it. Let's make Pluto in Aquarius about regeneration and purification of our air and regeneration of our forests that give us better air, and so on and so forth. So there are other things to do with Pluto in an air sign than radiation is better than war. So, so just what we think is a terrible ecological disaster, to us, it is. Nature, she overcomes. So people are worried of what our impact on Mother Land, on the Mother Nature, our impact. We have some impact, but we have also much impact. Nature, she makes sure. Okay, we're doing bad stuff, we're exterminating the people who are doing bad stuff, grows a forest, sexual polarity, you can practice willing consent again. This is so. Yeah. And I hope this is useful. And yeah, if I think about more things to do with this eclipse, yes, Mercury, I think, is going to be retrograde, and also in Aries. I think it's going to already be retrograde. Yes. So it's happening with the Mercury retrograde. So it's like, if there isn't enough unclarity with Mars and Saturn being in Pisces conjuncting with Mars ruling Rahu and Venus ruling Ketu being in Pisces, so added to that a Mercury retrograde. And I think this emphasizes our need to be inclusive of people who have a speech disability, who have means of communications that are different to ours, but also who cannot, let's say, use, if you think about these videos, it would be good if I would have someone who's translating this for like deaf people, and so on. So it's emphasizing means of communication as well. And, it can be like, war traumas, and we have to go to do with that. But also technology to do with like our limbs, our hands. This is also important, and the accessibility for people and inclusivity of people. Because let's say if I can give the example of the Me Too, okay, the nature of talk about sexual boundary violation, it affects not only the lower chakra, the sex chakra, our faith in the world, yes, because it's like root chakra, crown chakra, but also ability to express, second sex chakra, throat chakra. Okay, in many cases, this is how it's done, because when a person went through such thing, the expression is different, and so they are not believed, they're not credible, they're this, they're that. But this, yes, it's not. It has, nature, she takes care of herself. It has implications. If the person cannot speak, the land will shake, which is what's happening. So, and by the way, I'm living on the Syrian African crack, which basically means that we're very susceptible to an earthquake. Once in 100 years, once in a century, there's like a huge earthquake. The last one has been like a century ago. So that's what's up. I'm not saying it's going to happen like with this eclipse, but it definitely is like one of the events that are like, scheduled is a major earthquake in our region that we're absolutely not prepared for. So, yeah, with that I'll end.